Rev up your engines! Today I'm going to show you how you can avoid dealing with bad mechanics. Now, being a mechanic myself for the last 50 years, I've met good mechanics, bad mechanics, scam mechanics, and some mechanics that just had no idea what they were doing. So today I'm going to show you how you can avoid the bad mechanics or the crooked ones who might not be bad mechanics, but they just charge you way too much money for what they're planning on doing. Now, when looking for a mechanic, you got to make sure they have the right tools to work on your car, but don't be overly impressed by a whole bunch of fancy tools, because with modern computers, very good tools can be very small. It's the tool itself, what it can do, and what the mechanic has in his head and knows how to operate them. And find out who's going to be working on your car. It doesn't do any good if the owner of the shop actually understands quite a bit about cars, but then you go and you see there's a young kid who's actually working on your car, doesn't have any idea what he's doing. Over the years, I've found many good shops that I've known did great work for decades, only to find that now the son or the grandson has taken over the shop. He's not all that interested in it, and they do pretty shoddy work. Eventually they go bankrupt, but in the meantime, they do some pretty bad stuff to people's cars. And when you think about it, it's kind of amazing. I'm not burnt out anymore after doing it for 50 years, but I like a challenge. And when I see something that's broken, to me, it's a big challenge to get it working right again. And yes, really good mechanics, hey, we can be an odd breed. Look at my garage. There's stuff all over the place. I got tools hanging everywhere, but that doesn't mean anything because I know how to use them and where I've got most of them hidden away. Now, there's some really anal mechanics out there. They'll have a picture of the tool on the wall and each one goes in its neat little place. But hey, from my experience, some of the guys I knew that worked like that, they were some of the worst mechanics I ever met. They were neatness freaks, but they weren't that good at actually fixing cars. They just liked their place to look neat and clean. And as far as it goes for those certificates that people have saying they've completed courses, well, they're okay for some things, but really, there's book learning, and then there's real learning. Years ago, my father hired a guy, and he paid to train him to get all these certificates. He was one of the worst mechanics we ever had, but he could take tests really well. And if you know anything about the real world, the test of the real world, can you actually do something, means a lot more than somebody sitting with a pencil and a piece of paper and circling multiple choice tests. Now, here's something to definitely avoid in a mechanic shop. If you look around, you see a whole bunch of cars, but they're in various shapes of disrepair, flat tires, inspection stickers are out of date. You want to avoid them because a lot of times they're using those as eye candy to make it look like, oh, they're busy all the time, so they must be good. Or they take forever to fix cars, and some of them be there for months or even years before they get done. Now, here's some advice that you have to use with any mechanic, good or bad. Never say, oh, I'm in no hurry, take your time. Because a really good mechanic's busy all the time, and then he'll just let your car slide to the side because you said you're not in a hurry and everyone else is. And a bad mechanic might just think, heck, I'll just let that one slide forever. He's in no big hurry. I'll do the next job that comes in first to make as much money as I can. And when it comes to prices, hey, it pays to shop around and see what you're actually paying for. A friend of one of my customers called me up and said, Scotty, my friend told me about you. I got my car at the shop, and he's going to charge me $350 to reprogram my computer. I think that's kind of high. What do you think? Well, reprogramming the computer just consists of erasing the data and putting new data in. The computer does all the work. It usually takes about an hour or so. So I just said, heck, I'll call up the dealer. So I called up the dealer, and they only wanted $135 to do the same job. So when the dealer's charging $135 for what somebody else is going to charge you $350, obviously the guy charging you $350, hey, he's not very honest. So if you find a guy like that, heck, put some internet posts out there saying how he was charging you too much money to warn other people. So if there's warnings about a guy being a bad mechanic on the internet, you pay heed to that. But on the other hand, if there's really good praises of him, be very leery. I know a guy down the street, he had his own mechanics when they weren't busy, typing in great reviews at the shop, how great they were, to sucker people to come in. They just made them all up themselves. Now, you can't beat word of mouth of people that you know. I've been working on cars for 50 years. You know how much money I've spent on advertising in my garage? Nothing. Not a penny. All word of mouth. My customers are happy. They tell their friends. They tell their friends. Everyone's happy and no money's wasted on advertising. And yes, these days it can be hard to find a good mechanic, but it's hard to find a good doctor or a good dentist too. Just keep searching and who knows, you might get lucky and find a guy like me around you. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.